Shit! Just when I think that Marvel couldn't pull the rug out from me again, they do it every single freaking week. You think Agnes is not Agatha, then you think she is. Then you're like, no, I'm pretty sure she's not. And then bada bing, bada boom, surprise, suckers! It was Agatha all along. Welcome to this episode of Fake Nerds Watch WandaVision. Myself, Brandon McClure, Sparks Whitty, and Ryan Eliopoulos. I totally forgot to introduce myself. Agatha must be messing with my brain already. I'm Ben Magnet. We're talking about WandaVision episode 7.
Yes.
What's it called? What's the episode called? Do we know?
Oh, crap.
Breaking the Fourth Wall.
Oh, that one.
I right up top, I told you guys before we started recording that last week I let them get me. I believed them at face value. I was like, well, if Wanda can control it, then she is the one who's doing this. And I was like, I don't know what to believe anymore. But it started, and Agatha walks through that door. Sorry, Agnes walks through that door. Full spoilers. I don't care. If Agatha, she walks through that door, and I'm like, I shouldn't have let them get me.
The second she said the kids are down in the basement, I'm thinking Mephisto.
Oh no, she walks through the door in the first episode. I'm like, Agatha.
Yeah. The first moment of this episode, it's like, yeah, where she's just like, let me just take the boys.
Yes.
You need a moment. You need a moment, right? Yeah.
Which is each children? I'm just saying.
I love this has my favorite. I always like the Modern Family office kind of format of talking to the audience, making that little punchline. Mm-hmm. This episode had my favorite so far of all of them. When it's just, I don't bite. I actually did bite a kid once. It was so funny.
That was pretty funny. Actually, my personal favorite was when Vision was talking. He's like, "Wait a minute. What am I talking to you guys for here?" He just flies out of
the thing that got me with that scene is he has a little lapel mic. Yeah. And it's just like, this guy saved the world. He he was part of the biggest war and he's like, I gotta take this little microphone off, and he hits the boom mic, and I'm like, this is absurd. This is every single week this show continues to surprise me. This is how stupid it's allowed to be sometimes. Just being a silly comedy.
God bless that we're here. So I know we normally don't talk about the end of the episode. We like to lead up to it. I think we got to address the Agnes Agatha of it all outright. So I'd like to start with turning it over to Ryan. And Ryan, why don't you tell anyone who's checking us out who's not familiar a little bit about Agatha Harkness?
Oh gosh, well, okay. Agatha Harkness is a super duper witch lady. I this week, because of this episode, I dug much more deeply into her because I've read her in more modern incarnations. But she's originally the babysitter for Franklin Richards, and she worked with the Fantastic Four, and she was a hero for a long time. And then she became Wanda's mentor, and bad things happened with demons, and then Wanda blamed Agatha for what happens to the kids. So it looks like they're kind of weaving that in, still making her a bad guy. Maybe I'm still not convinced she's still the main bad guy, but that's just, my brain is so deep into that theory hole. It's kind of hard to get out of, especially with that mailman. Man, come on, you don't show me that mailman for no reason.
I'll tell you what, Ryan. I'm with you on the Mephisto train, because there is a statue of a goat head. There's a goat head demon statue in her lair.
Oh, I missed it.
Yes,
that's great.
That was when Wanda goes into the basement, she goes into creepy lair. I'm thinking, okay, we're either getting a Sokovia hallucination or we're getting hell. We're getting gates of hell. This is hell shit. And I see the demon head. I'm like, we're getting Mephisto. We're getting Mephisto. I mean,
here's the thing, Ben. Ben, real quickly, I've said it before on the show. I would not be surprised if Mephisto is not the main villain of this show.
Yeah.
But I am fully prepared for him to be the main villain of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah. Right. I was going to say much the same thing, that I'm like, Agatha might be the main thing here, but this is definitely still going to have the larger force, because Agatha is not going to be the single bad thing that we're encountering when we go to Doctor Strange.
She's the Loki. She's the Loki into the bigger threat. But it's magical instead of space shit. And again, Agatha might be under control herself. I feel like with that last reel, which is wild, but the Agatha all along musical bit.
Love it.
Fantastic. I think that they're showing you right there that she has so much personality. I don't think she's under anyone's control. I think this is her doing stuff. She might have assistance from something else, but
that's
I think this is truly her personality that we're seeing there.
Yeah,
so
you're right.
Sparks, when we got to the little end reel bit where it's revealed that it was Agatha all along, I was when I got to see when she was talking to Vision and she like looks over the camera and is like, I was like, he was right. He got me. She's a lying bitch.
She's
a lying witch.
I don't think anybody like Brandon said, I don't think that anybody should feel bad for being look, last week it took twice of me watching it for me to be like, no, I'm sure I'm still right. But look, they really tried to convince you, because that's the whole thing, is they want you to give into that idea. And most people did. Mm-hmm. Most people gave into Wanda is doing this. This is all on her. And then they're like, nah, baby, let's just really enjoy revealing to you this is Agatha, baby, and just laying that shit on.
What's so fun about the Agatha all along bit is that for 6 episodes they've been like it's Wanda, and me knowing TV, it's like if they're pointing at A, then it's clearly B. But they did it for so long where I was like, oh, maybe it is just A. And then the Agatha all along is like, nope, we got you.
Yeah. And I don't think anybody should feel bad for like falling for the Wanda shtick. Like they sold it just the right level where I was like, I feel like, and I truly think that it is a matter of like, how much genre mystery television do you watch and how much do you not? Because if you're used to this kind of, you're like, nah, come on, this is a bait and switch 100%. But if you don't, I like, and this is a knock on you, Brandon, I just know there's a lot of people on Twitter who are talking about like, really? I didn't suspect her at all. And that kind of thing. And I'm like, yo, what?
Well, it was interesting because I always go back to what Ryan picked up on really hard in episode 2, which is the for the children line.
Yeah.
And there not being any children in WestView. So that was always kind of something that I go back to. And I told Zara about that this week, and she was like, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like going back to that moment for the children, that's the same episode Wanda gets pregnant.
Yeah.
It's always been for the children. It's always been for Tommy and Billy.
And to me, for the general audience, like nothing, I think, made it more clear that like maybe you could still argue that Wanda was behind this, but you got to be somewhat suspicious of Agnes. Then when Agnes was in the house and she's like, you want me to take that back? Not a question, a statement. And Wanda doesn't seem to remember it, but Vision's like, yo, what? Did you see that? And you gotta at least kind of, as a casual viewer, go, hold up, what?
But also, like Wanda is still an accomplice in this. Like she's letting this thing happen. Like if she really like, if she was more in tune with herself, like I think she would realize like, oh, what I'm doing is wrong. But she's dealing with so much shit. Like she's also like kind of a bad guy in a way, but like it's not her fault.
So again, like I go back to I still, even more so now, I stand by my theory that Wanda has been the person tricked into believing she was responsible for this. And I stand by, I think even more so now with this last episode behind us and the way that Wanda's talking about things, that Wanda didn't even become fully aware until episode 3. Of exactly what was going on. Like it was all just kind of a beautiful dream that she was in. And she has been very clear. I don't remember how this happened. And again, I go back now, especially with this episode under us, I go back to the argument she had with Vision where she said, I don't know what you're talking about. I couldn't be doing this. I don't have control of these people. Wanda wasn't lying. Wanda doesn't understand it. Yes, her powers are being used 100%, but Wanda is not so much an accomplice as a person who has, over the episodes, we have watched her be convinced of herself that she is the person doing this, that these are real people who are being affected, that this isn't something weird that's being done to her, which I don't think she believed.
Well, that goes back to what you were talking about with the argument with Pietro, where Pietro kept telling her, how did you do this? How did you do this? Mom, right. So he and in that same episode, she moves the hex further out. So that's the episode where I think she realizes that she can control what's happening, and she herself now thinks that she is the reason for it, which leads into this episode where she says that, I created this false reality.
So I'm gonna only push back on that a little bit to say that I don't think that that's when she realizes she controls it. I do think it's when she realized this is my power doing this, because this whole episode she's anything but in control. Yeah, and I think all the more what that is that slowly what she would be figuring out is somehow my power is working against me.
Yeah.
Someone we now know is using my power against me. So I wouldn't call Wanda as much an accomplice, because I truly don't think Wanda ever grasped the notion of what was happening here. Sure. I only think it's in this moment now that we're at where she's suspicious and she's starting to go, oh, this has actually all been truly, truly bad and wrong. But again, this does go back to, we still don't have a qualifier on knowing, did Wanda walk out of the hex? But this episode still makes me feel pretty strongly in that realm that she did not.
Yeah. And it also leaves a lot of questions. If Agatha is behind this whole thing, why did she choose that version of Pietro? Mm-hmm. Because the episode clearly wants us to believe that Evan Peters is Aaron Taylor Johnson, because Aaron Taylor Johnson he's using his abilities. It's got his streak, it's got his hair, it's got his memories, but it's got Evan Peters' face,
right?
So that just leaves it open. And the question is why didn't she just bring this Aaron Taylor Johnson?
I still think that's multiverse accident shit.
Yeah.
I still kind of think it's what I talked about with you guys last week, which is where I said that I think that it's meant to make Wanda think she's doing this, that Wanda is extra convinced, because why would I want to see my dead brother's face? Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Wanda needs to be convinced that this is her, but Wanda can't bring back the dead, right? So for Wanda to be convinced it's her, she has to think that somehow it went weird or something strange happened. And I think that's meant to convince her more that this is your power and you're not figuring it out. But that's why you, just as much as you don't understand why I have a different face, is as much as why you don't understand how you did all this. Right. Because that was you. And I think that it's meant to confuse her and extra seep her into the lie that she did it.
I love the bit in the Agatha All Along song when she's talking to Vision just before Vision's about to go out of the hex, and she's just looking at herself in the mirror, and she's like, "Yes, okay."
It's a hot bop. It's very short, but it's written by the Frozen guys or whoever. It's
the whole. Very Munsters. Very Munsters.
I think all of the music has been done by the people who did Frozen.
You're right.
Yes.
I forget to mention it's so good every episode.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's super good. So I do want to pose a counter theory about what I was saying. So let's say that I don't believe this at this moment, but let's say that was Wanda that walked out of the hex, right? Mm-hmm. She touches the hex and makes it red.
Yeah.
Perhaps Agnes and whatever else might be involved, Agatha, couldn't control the hex anymore properly after that. So Pietro is there to unhinge Wanda further, to push Vision, and Agatha works to push Vision outside the hex to make Wanda expand the boundary and push her power out. Because I feel like we're missing a detail about why it was important that Wanda touched the hex.
Yeah,
and change the color.
I think you're right, but also there's a point I want to highlight that Agatha seems to be more scared of Vision's power than she is of Wanda's power. She seems very convinced that she can control Wanda, but not convinced she can control Vision.
Yeah, it's just a question of, Agatha. I think Agatha made the hex get expanded to stop what Sword was doing in an effort to stop Sword. And I think she used Vision as that tool. I would agree with you that I think she worries about Vision's power, but I don't think she worries about Vision too much. We're going to have to see what happens, because we now know that Agatha made Vision suspicious on purpose. Yeah. We saw the scene where she activates Herb to make him suspicious.
Well, I think we know
that he was trying that she was trying to stop him from coming to the house.
I think the reason that happens is she's trying to cause a division, like you said, between Vision and Wanda.
Yeah, but how much of that can she play with? Because there is a question of like how much can Agatha contain Vision, I guess.
I don't.
How much is that just steering something?
I think that's exactly what it is. I think like obviously over the episodes go on, Vision is becoming more and more cohesive or more coherent of what's going on. So now she, instead of just like doing like the normal stuff, she has to push him away in certain ways, and he's basically like locked out of town this entire episode.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Vision in this episode.
Wait, real quick, there's more stuff because we already talked about some of the basement stuff. There's a big MacGuffin book, guys.
I had a feeling that was gonna be a thing.
I got a feeling that's gonna be the one thing in this season that's gonna be like, oh, okay, it's a MacGuffin. There are many stupid books in the Marvel universe. We all read Secret Empire. It's also in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., The Darkhold, which is a super powerful mega-like book that has tons of spells and it amplifies your powers. So I think Agatha could be using that to amplify Wanda's powers, because what Agatha's doing, utilizing Wanda, like I don't think Agatha is that powerful unless this incarnation is. Like I don't, they can do whatever they want.
Well, we've heard. Well, I have two thoughts on that. I've heard a lot of theories that it could be the Necronomicon, it could be the Darkhold, which connects it to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Runaways, which is weird because that's not the same looking book as those shows. But that's fine. No. Or it could also be the missing book from the Ancient One's library from Doctor Strange.
Oh, that could be fun.
Because there is a missing book in that movie.
You're right there.
I don't remember, but I believe you.
And it's not the book that Caecilius takes. It's
it's like because Caecilius just rips a page out of it, but
yeah, it could be. It could be. We don't know what it is.
I want to say I do. I do remember.
The other thing I wanted to say real quickly, Ben, is that it feels like they want to make this Agatha Harkness the counter to Wanda. Like we have Ironmonger to Iron Man, and we now have Agatha Harkness to Wanda, and they have the complementary power set that we're seeing.
Yeah, what I'm curious about is because now that I know like she has such a deeper history with so much of the Marvel universe that I didn't know, I kind of hope they keep her around and she turns into like an anti-hero or a hero, because it's like, honestly, guys, Kathryn Hahn rules, and I'm just so happy that Kathryn Hahn is like the talk of the town right now, and she's been so cool for so long. Oh man,
I have a hard time believing that WandaVision is the last we see of her.
God, she's so good.
I mean, we've got 2 more episodes to find out, but I'd have a hard time believing that. But then again, we've had other fantastic villains who we just lose. So who knows?
So, one last thing. So I think we're all on the same train kind of with Sparks, maybe Brandon, but Ben, do you think the mailman is in on this? Why do they keep showing the mailman? Filmmakers do not do shit for no reason. Tell me that's not Al Pacino as Mephisto.
I saw that.
Come on. Ooh-ah, come on.
That mailman's gotta be someone. It could be Ralph.
I love Sparks' theory from 2 weeks ago, which is like, I think it's Ralph.
Yeah, Ralph's mentioned again this episode. We see Ralph again. I mean, we see the mailman again. Like
it'd be really simple because every time we see him, he's delivering mail throughout the town. So like, there's a simple hold on, let me be clear. He's Ralph and he's Mephisto.
Yeah.
Like he's both. I think he is both. But I think the way we're gonna first get acknowledged about him is that she's gonna refer to him as Ralph, and then it's gonna turn out to be Mephisto. But I think that is I think that is like the duality, because he has only shown up in moments like centered on Agnes doing something in particular. And he's almost always like there in a scene where someone is about to figure out what's really happening. Yeah. It was the drone, and it was the moment right after the second drone. and then it was this moment with Photon and Wanda squaring off.
Did he show up in the episode where Sparky dies?
Yes, he was.
Yes, that was the second drone. So gotcha. We have the second drone. Wanda left the hex, and when she's back in, the boys are looking for the dog, and they pass the mailman first.
That's right.
Speaking of which, at the very end of it was Agatha all along. She's like, "And I killed Sparky too." I'm like, "Oh, you suck."
That's the witch cackle. Yo, man, she survived the Salem witch trials. She's crazy. She's old. Oh yeah, man, I can't wait. I hope there's like a crazy backstory with her. Oh, I'm so excited.
But Ryan, to answer your thing, that mailman is in on something, because you do not constantly pan the camera on him and he's staring is like, I'm watching this. I want to see what's gonna happen next.
Sparks, you were absolutely dead on Herb from episode 3.
Mm-hmm.
That Agatha like let him do exactly what she wanted him to do.
And only that much. Yeah. I mean, that was the thing, is like being on the Agnes train, you read into, if you were on it, you were reading into every detail about her. And I was on that train hard. Yeah. So it's nice to, there's still a lot up in the air that I could be totally off about, but seeing some of those Agnes stuff definitely play out made me really happy. That musical montage is just, what a killer way to do it. It just phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. It did make me a little curious, because it does feel like the hex is established and she enters. Now, I'm not saying that like, oh, she didn't have a part of its establishment or anything, but it just was interesting the way they visualize it, is her landing into it.
Yeah,
we see an imagery of her purple outfit that disappears and it turns into the black. She turns into the black and white. I thought that was an interesting way to do that.
So I just had a thought. Obviously, we all know it was Agatha all along, but also could she be using Wanda as kind of like a magical conduit in a way?
Yeah. That was my theory in the early days, where I thought that whoever is doing this is using Wanda's powers.
It's absolutely that. And again, I think this is all for the kids. Now, whatever the reasoning is, again, having two like superpowered youngsters is great for any demonic being to have under their control. Mm-hmm. But like, it's also, I think, to break down Wanda to be able to get her as well. It's like it's a threefold win.
All right. So, question before I forget: what was the deal with the Nexus?
Yeah, cool. So I didn't remember this. And then luckily Twitter is amazing. So if you're a Nexus in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that means there is only one of you throughout all the multiverse. Wanda Maximoff is that, I believe. So I don't know if they're gonna do it. If they're gonna do something with that in this, who knows? I don't know if that really matters.
Side effects may include more depression.
Yes. It could be like I was going to bring up when we talked about the Pietro stuff, because there is only one Maximoff, one Wanda Maximoff, and a potentially billion Pietros. Again, it's a multiverse mistake. Like, we couldn't find another exact copy of the match, so we had to find someone else. That's a theory.
There is also the Nexus that Man-Thing guards.
The Nexus of all realities. Oh, also in Excalibur, that's the Nexus of all realities. The Starlight Citadel.
One interesting thing, if we want to hop back on the train of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is being made canon now, like with the Blue Soap and potentially the Darkhold, Man-Thing was mentioned in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Man-Thing is on the statue in Thor Ragnarok as one of the Guardians, as one of the gladiators.
His wife is killed by Tony Stark in Iron Man 3.
Oh yeah, she's one of the weird mean ladies, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she's the botanist, right?
Man-Thing's been everywhere in the MCU, just like auxiliary,
except actually not showing up.
No, not the. Wait, is she the botanist in?
Not the botanist. No, I think it wasn't.
No, the exploding girl, right, with the red head.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, the bar fight lady.
Okay, because when you said Man-Thing, because the only thing I know about Man-Thing is that he's like the Marvel version of Swamp Thing. So I thought, oh yeah, it makes sense that he would marry a botanist.
Only because he has Thing in the name, and he also lives in a swamp.
And he controls plants.
Get it?
And he controls plants.
He doesn't control plants, does he?
He's made of plants, isn't he?
Yeah, but he's more of like a teleporting psychic man.
Yeah. Real quickly, I keep jotting down some notes of things that I just really like about the show. I really like how they play with aspect ratio, how it's very natural, just kind of like moves into 4:3 or 16:9, and then opens wide for when they're in the hex. But Sparks also kind of bounced over it. We finally get Monica Rambeau's powers.
Photon. Visually extremely cool to see.
Excuse me, or Spectrum.
Could be both.
Yeah,
she goes by 3 different names.
There's a great panel that's been being retweeted. It's like, my name's Monica, or Spectrum if you're nasty.
Yeah,
it's so good.
You're right. It's very likely they're gonna call her Spectrum, based on the way they visualize the powers in this. I would say that they're gonna call her Spectrum.
I think currently she is. The last time I saw her in Ultimates, I think that's what she was called.
Yeah.
Also, that makes sense since you're going through like the TV spectrum too. So
just a phenomenal sequence of her going through the hex and the different versions.
I think that was all new dialogue recorded by Samuel L. Jackson and the actress who played Maria Rambeau.
I'm not sure about that because they definitely use the same lines for Captain Marvel. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
about the
it's definitely the same thing for Brie Larson. But I don't remember. It's been a while since I've seen Captain Marvel, so I'm not willing to die on the hill. But I do think it was new dialogue because they talked about how like I'm gonna meet you up there, mommy, and he's like, well, you gotta glow like your aunt Carol.
It didn't sound familiar to me. It is possible it was a deleted scene, but I do think that was new dialogue. I don't think that we heard that in Captain Marvel.
Yeah. I mean, in Rise of Skywalker, they got a bunch of people to do like one line. So, like,
come on, Sam Jackson's in his own Disney Plus show. It's not hard for them at this point.
Yeah,
they can easily do that. Anybody can come do anything in the MCU.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of, this show just continues to look incredible whenever they do like the MCU stuff.
Yeah.
Vision just being Vision is really cool.
He does the gym look.
Yeah. Yeah. That nuclear bunker truck was real cool. Got turned into just like a regular truck halfway in between.
Like halfway into a minivan.
Yeah. Oh, real quick, I will go back to Monica because, like you said, Sparks, like that might be my favorite like scene in the whole show so far. Is as she's breaking through and like the multiple versions of her, like her past and stuff, and like you see her mom and stuff.
You know what it reminded me of in a visual like motif way was the episode of Lovecraft Country with her going through the different realities, kind of like all that concept condensed into a moment.
Yeah.
It reminded me a lot of that.
Sure. It felt like yo, we're seeing the birth of a superhero right now. This is dope.
Right.
Like it felt cool.
Yeah. They made that moment land really well.
Yeah, and she does a superhero landing.
I'm so happy that she's gotten her powers now. Very excited to see her in Captain Marvel 2.
I also we haven't talked about it on the show, but I really love. It feels very good, the motivation that she has to want to get back to Wanda, because she's like, she is like, I know what she's doing. She's grieving and I get it. I know what that is right now. I'm in that. I know what that is. And I need to talk to her. I can help her. And I think that's really, really nice that is the thing that's driving her into that connection. And that scene with Wanda where she's trying to talk to her and she's like, I know, and this isn't you. And I know, you know that. I know you can see that.
Yeah, that goes back to something that I've been seeing a lot on Twitter, and I've said a lot on Twitter. I really enjoy how the MCU tackles trauma and mental health and depression. I like Iron Man 3. I like Endgame. Those movies are not afraid to tackle serious issues, and I think they do it in a respectful and human way. Yeah. And I think WandaVision is just the next tally on that. I have not seen anything to say otherwise.
Yeah.
And I am glad that we can have in the episode like Wanda saying maybe I am the villain now, doubting herself, and then it's like you should trust yourself more. But there's also a villain. Like you can have these emotional complexities while also just having there's a big bad. It's the MCU is good.
She's in an emotionally compromised state, and Agatha is taking advantage of that.
Oh yeah,
another great joke. Don't you think you're punishing yourself? You're not supposed to talk back.
Oh, that was so spooky. God. Oh, I loved it.
That I wanted to talk about how Wanda is just completely unhinged in the beginning of the episode. She's just kind of like, I've had it.
Yeah. Nothing crystallized for me more that opinion that I was expressing earlier, that like Wanda has been tricked and messed with, and I do not think she is as much an accomplice as like anything could lead you to believe, because she's just so unaware of what's happening, because she has that line where she's talking to the kids and she's like, I'm beginning to think that everything is meaningless. And just like, girl, you gone.
Listen, she just got a case of the Mondays, am I right?
When Agatha leaves with the kids and she's just kind of like, I'm free.
Yeah. Agatha's son in the comics is named Nicholas Scratch, so people are thinking that like her son is that rabbit. Which might be so silly.
I wouldn't be surprised at this point.
No, there's like a cicada like in her house. Like she's got some wacky shit going on. Who knows?
Yeah, so the aerospace engineer, that's the major, right?
No,
I don't think
we still haven't met the
I think that's very much a Civil War Doctor Strange just mentioned thing, where like I think that character might show up in Captain Marvel too. Honestly.
Okay.
Well, so the actress who plays Monica, I can't pronounce her name, so I apologize. She did say that the reveal is coming. That wasn't it.
Oh.
Yeah, she did say that you're gonna find out who it is in this show.
I can imagine, like, let's just for funsies say it's Blue Marvel, and he's like, "You did what to my truck?" Oh, okay, that'd be so good.
I still think a lot of people are like hammering home the Reed Richards. I'm like, no, it's Blue Marvel.
This isn't it.
You saw that tweet from Clickbait, didn't you?
Which one?
Oh, I did, but I've been saying Blue Marvel. Ryan and I have been on the same page of Blue Marvel.
We've been saying Blue Marvel too. Because Ryan, there was because you know that Twitter feed, the Clickbait article one.
Yeah.
Where they take the Clickbait art titles and be like, yeah, this is all BS. Yeah. So apparently people are mad that it wasn't John Krasinski. That's real. I was like, really? I'm shocked.
Guys, give it time. They just announced it. Give it time.
Yeah, they just announced the damn movie. Just chill for crying out loud.
I think whoever it is at this point, I do think it is a Marvel character, and I think it's Blue Marvel.
Oh no, I may not know Blue Marvel, but I believe you too. It's Blue Marvel.
Oh,
Ultimates is going to be a future book club, my friend.
I also thought about making Ultimates a future book club.
Yay!
It's a good book.
It's an Al Ewing book, baby. It's good.
Yeah,
okay,
that was my first Al Ewing book. And since then I've read everything.
Although Ryan, you'd be happy. Side tangent. I told a friend of mine at work that he should download Marvel Unlimited to read Jason Aaron's Thor run because he's a huge Thor fan.
Yeah, man, that's 10 years of comics, baby. You're doing great.
I told him it's long, and he said I'm into it.
I want to talk about one of my favorite parts in this episode was Vision learning about his history through Darcy. And it really crystallized for me. I was expressing this to Ryan that I really hope that the only reason we haven't heard Paul Bettany's in Doctor Strange is because they don't want us to know his fate in the show, but that he's going to make it out of this show. And the reason I feel that way, because Ryan and I agree with Ryan that it feels like there should be some weight of consequence at the end of the show, but I don't want that weight to be Vision. And it's because Darcy laid out that Wanda, because I hadn't thought about it for a while, but for Wanda, a few weeks ago in her world, she had to kill the man she loved and then watch him be brought back to be murdered in front of her.
Yes.
And now here she is with all this going on. And
then she had to fight the murderer.
And I'm like, I don't really want Wanda to have to lose Vision at the end of this. I don't feel like that's right.
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah.
And so I hypothesized to Ryan that, what we might not know yet is that the consequence is going to be that the boys are taken and they're taken into the multiverse. And Doctor Strange is really a quest to get the boys back.
That'd be dope. I'm okay with that.
Well, isn't the comic book origin of the boys that they do disappear and then they're reincarnated into different people?
Yes,
but they are killed in the comics. They are incinerated and then they are again reincarnated. So I was actually talking to people on Twitter about this. I don't think Marvel is going to kill these children. I do think they will get lost in the multiverse and they will return and give a new adoptive family or something. I don't think they're also going to age those kids up. They're going to get Jonathan Kented, but this is a good reason to do that, not a bad reason to do that. Get those kids up to the Young Avengers age, either late teens, early 20s.
I want to say this on every single episode we do of WandaVision. Because when it happens, I want to be able to go to the tape. I firmly believe that the reason why an Avengers movie wasn't announced is because it is called Young Avengers.
Dude, I want to believe so bad that it is a movie. I'm not sure. I don't know. I want to believe it so bad because that Marvel's faith in the youth of the Marvel universe. That's my dream come true is the next generation taking over. But I'm seeing it happen in live action for actually happening in front of me as I grow up. That's the dream. We'll see in a couple of years. I hope you're right.
Again,
yeah.
I want to be able to go to the tape on this one.
Sure.
Make it happen.
We'll all give you your credit.
America Chavez is in Doctor Strange too, so that is more cause she's part of the Young Avengers with those kids. Maybe
I feel like I was just talking to Megan in Monterey right now, and we drove last night, and I had a long conversation about how I feel like it's inevitable that they're going to work Amadeus Cho into the MCU, and he's going to be part of the Young Avengers as well.
Yo, his mom is already in the thing.
That's true.
She's Age of Ultron lady.
Yeah. I feel like it's inevitable, is what it feels like to me.
And also because Amadeus Cho is part of the Champions, and there's a weird thing of half these characters are champions, but we are 15 years past the Young Avengers, kind of in a way. So we're at the weird point. Do you just mix them both? That's what they're doing.
Well, yes, that's what they did with the Avengers too. Captain America's not in the original Avengers roster.
Yeah, they woke him up.
I think Darcy's great in this. I really liked Kat Dennings and him getting to have the interactions and banter between each other.
Very funny.
I thought it was really good.
Sparks, going back to your consequences thing, I forgot I had a thing. Sparks and Ryan, you guys talked about the consequences of the show, and Sparks, you don't want the consequence to be that Vision is lost. I think that a good consequence for the show is that Vision doesn't get his memory back. It is a new Vision coming out of the show.
I mean, I don't know how much that truly is a loss, because this Vision already has far more personality than that Vision ever did anyway.
He's
also
like, it could be 3 weeks old. It could be the consequence that this isn't the same Vision that we knew prior to his death.
Could be like the more robotic Tom King version.
I think we're gonna keep the keep the personality.
Other direction, okay. Ben. Other direction. We had the more robotic version. That was the problem.
Yeah, that's the dream. Yeah, like Vision is even in the comics kind of more of a like robotic character, but it's very funny because like he has like a dry sense of humor because he's not good at comedy and stuff like that, and that's what that comic does really well. But like, yeah, I don't want to go back to like Age of Ultron.
Well,
like, I think Paul Bettany's here. Let him stay. Let him act.
I think part of why the version of Vision doesn't appeal, especially at this point, is because the history of Vision is not just the history of Vision in the MCU. It's all the way back to Jarvis, as they acknowledge in this episode, and that's Paul Bettany having been a robotic AI voice for a very long time. And it wasn't until Infinity War, honestly, where he really got to express a lot of personality, little bit in Civil War, but not a lot. Yeah. This is the character I want to watch more than the MCU.
We talked about it, like Age of Ultron, he had personality, but he's not really in it a whole lot. But Jarvis had oodles of personality.
Yes.
Yeah. Jarvis was snarky as hell.
But I do think that's why like the like restrained version I just don't want anymore, because we've had longer than the history of Vision. We have had this voice that we just had the voice of Jarvis, and we've reached all the way up to this point. And I'm like, please don't take the step backward. We want this personality in filled Vision. Is a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah.
So first post-credit scene.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was a very, 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 very quick, like 30-second scene, but Pietro's still around. Yep. He looks to be some type of just like goon henchman. Is this still an alternate world, or like is this still a different character just under mind control, or is this like a demonic, like is this like, you know, like a something in the skies? You know what I mean? Is it someone under control, or is it like a bad entity?
I'm gonna go with it's a guy disguised as Evan Peters, Pietro, for the reasons we've said to off balance Wanda, because it'd be weird if there was just a guy who looked like Evan Peters living in this world.
Because I asked that because there's a scene when it shows Agatha like making him purple. So I don't know if that's him, if that's her creating him, or just like taking over the body of him.
That was my guess. Is that the purple stuff was her creating Pietro, but she had like, you know, there's like, okay, shit's gonna hit the fan. I gotta get something to her brother. Frack, what does he look like? That's him.
I really like the idea. Like, what does he look like?
Yeah, and like he just gazes into the multiverse for a second. And like, yeah, that's Quicksilver, sure, yeah. Like, I hope that's what it is. I hope she just goes like, oh shoot, that's not him. I want it.
Hopefully, she's like, wait, he's called Peter. Close enough.
Well, again, like I stand by that. I think that it's done on purpose. It's done to confuse Wanda. Mm-hmm. I think that line he has about like, you know, I understand why you wouldn't want to. It'd be kind of traumatizing to see my face.
That's true.
Again, and I think that's part of the trick. But like it wasn't pulled from nothing. She has a knowledge of the multiverse, or something has a knowledge of the multiverse. It also is possible that she summoned this Pietro from another universe and then whammied him into being controlled.
Yeah, that's what it could be. Yeah, it could be all of these, man.
I think here's the reason why I kind of lean towards that he is not just created out of nothing, that he is pulled out of the multiverse and controlled. That is further evidence of the multiverse. It is something we know we are headed for. It's in the title of the Doctor Strange movie. So I feel like it's probably that, because you need that kind of foundational evidence of like this guy came from the multiverse and da-da-da. And it's not just like, I found a face and I put it on this guy.
Yeah.
But real quickly, to all those watching, stop with the X-Men theories. The X-Men are not going to be created in WestView, New Jersey.
Nah, dog. If that no, stop. Yeah, I don't want it. Like, let this thing be its own thing. Oh my gosh, I don't know if it was a joke or not. I don't think it was but somebody was like on Instagram, like live doing a thing, and when Monica became like Photon or Spectrum or something, she's like, "Oh my God, it's Storm! Storm's finally in the MCU. The X-Men have arrived!" And I'm like, "Oh, you sweet summer child! Oh my God!" Maybe I was like, if Casey Casual's like, well, they don't know, like whatever, but like,
No, they don't.
The thing about the X-Men thing that bugs me, like she's going to create the X-Men, is that you lose so much history.
That's so,
with most of like the major contenders,
and it's so lazy. It's just like that.
You lose Wolverine being essentially a living weapon for his entire life. You lose Eric.
You know what? At the end of the day, Ben, you lose Apocalypse.
Yeah, you do.
Bottom line, you lose Apocalypse. You don't want to lose Apocalypse.
If Apocalypse hasn't been here already for thousands of years, I feel like we would know if Apocalypse was around. That dude's a bad boy. He's a bad boy.
I don't think WandaVision is our bridge to the mutants in the MCU. I would have a hard time believing that by the end of the Doctor Strange movie we aren't on the path towards it, though.
Yeah. That's in a year from now, right? So like that's one more year closer.
More than anything, merely because I agree with you guys that even though I'm kind of fascinated to think of the idea of just starting mutants from scratch in the MCU and seeing what you could do with that, I don't think that's what they're going to do. I do think they're going to pull them out of a multiverse.
Well, even so, like I go back to like we're about to get Eternals, where these heroes have been around for thousands of years and we've never heard of them.
Yeah.
So what I imagine I guess it would be the same thing with the Fantastic Four, I guess, unfortunately. Like it's a different concept, but it's the same idea. It's like these people are from a different place and they get brought to our world. Like a lot of our characters are like that, unfortunately.
I think the Fantastic Four are a little bit easier to start from scratch in the modern day. I personally don't want to do it. But I go back to like you can say that the mutants have been around for generations, hundreds of years even. Again, because we've seen Captain Marvel, we've seen Ant-Man, we're gonna get the Eternals. All these characters have been around for so long, you've never heard of them before their movie shows up.
I think it's just really hard to do that kind of retconning where you're saying like all these people with abilities have never ever been talked about in this entire period of time. That when we get to Iron Man and the Avengers, everyone acts like Thor is the first time they're seeing someone with major powers. You know, I think that's really hard to say. Like people in S.H.I.E.L.D. didn't know mutants existed. That's where it's really hard to split that hair. And I think that's a hard sell. Which is my thing about I have a hard time believing an entire portion of the population could be super powered, and S.H.I.E.L.D. didn't know.
You know who I trust to give us these answers?
Kevin Feige.
Yeah. But here's the thing. That's why an X-Men movie hasn't been announced. It's because they're probably doing the same things that we're doing, figuring out how this could work, where we can bring it in.
Right. Absolutely. It's a hard nut to crack.
It's why Fantastic Four was announced first, because that's 4 characters instead of literally 1,000.
And you can just be like, they're new astronauts who work for SWORD and they went up into space and got powers.
100%. Yeah.
Anyway, so yes, you talked about there's a mid-credit scene. I never gave up hope. I knew this was coming. I watched all the credits.
All the way through, baby.
Every week I'm like, maybe this week we'll get it.
It's even
until it gets to the credits with the different languages, that's when I skip ahead.
Gotcha. I think because like this was the rumor was like the last 3 are an hour long. I think just the last 3 are kind of like this is like the final stretch. This is the final act happening, and now the next 2 episodes are like the Marvel movie, which I think is like where all the big action and special effects and cameos and shit.
Yeah, I for me, like when Ryan and I have sat through the credits, it's usually because we're just talking about what we just saw while the credits are playing through, and so there's just never been the need to skip them.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm glad that we're still going to see Peter. I'm glad they didn't just like drop that for the rest of the show. So I'm glad that was a scene that revealed that we're still doing that. Yeah, I think that they do the comedy in this episode feels really solid. Maybe it just like really clicks along because it's modern humor, so it really just feels in its place correctly. They do the cutaways really well. The cutaway to like the kids' games changing is really excellent. Just all the little bits of comedy of that.
The hex expanding is so funny.
Yeah, it's got a weird music to it now, where it's like funkified to be a little entertaining and comedic, and you're like, that's weird.
That was a traumatic experience last week. What happened?
Yeah.
My favorite reaction is like when she's like, yeah, like life is meaningless, and then Billy is just like, it's just almost like you're talking to your child, like your 11-year-old son about life is meaningless. Like, come to your own conclusions, but like, man, I like those kids a lot. They're gonna go away soon, unfortunately. I think.
I didn't realize that that I think it's Billy Wiccan is from not Bly Manor, Hill House. He's one of the twins in Hill House.
Oh, the first season. Okay, right on.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, it's really, really impressive how well they've done all this. I thought they did a great job. That the moment that Agatha is in there and she's playing her bits to the camera, like I was looking at Ryan and I'm like, we were so right. We were so right. She's the bad guy. Look at this. Look at her languishing in her power.
It's so fun. It's and again, like, man, I've been singing in my head for like 2 days. It's been Agatha all along. Every couple of minutes, I'm just like,
God, it was so good. What a great reveal.
But what I really like about the reveal is that the tone of the show doesn't shift until she comes to save Wanda from Monica. Because even up until that, she's still doing the couch gags as like as Agnes. She's doing them like, Ralph says I should sugarcoat, but how do you tell kids that their mom is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs?
There's a great line, and Billy's like, I like coming here because it's so quiet. You're quiet, Agnes. That means that Agnes either doesn't have a soul or a consciousness or something. Because he's a telepath like his mom was. Or his mom is. Maybe I don't think she's a telepath in this show. I guess Billy is though. So whatever.
Wanda's powers are ill-defined in the MCU.
Both of their power, yes, yeah, very much so, yeah. But yeah, that line specifically, I was like, oh, Agnes is definitely not just a regular person.
That you and I, he said that line, and you and I both looked at each other, and went, "Oh."
I just do really like the commitment to the Agnes bit, to be like, no, it's not. She's not Agatha Harkness. Like the showrunners all know, we've called it for months. But the show doesn't want to show its hand, and I think it's to its benefit. It keeps the audience engaged because you do start to kind of question, in my case, Ben's case as well, where it's like until the moment she looks out the window at Wanda being like harassed by Monica and comes to save her. That's when the tone of the shift says, actually, it is Agatha Harkness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and I do like the commitment. I think it works on a storytelling perspective.
Me too. Me too. Like I said, I don't think that there's any reason like to be bothered that they tricked you or that they were trying to trick you or anything like that. I think it's all executed very well, whether you suspected or not, or you bought into the possibility that this was always Wanda or whatever. They rode the line perfectly.
I mean, this is a mystery show done well, where you are constantly questioning your own theories. Like again, like any type of mystery show you watch, like any murder mystery or like cop show or anything.
I'm definitely like, I'm in a class right now related to producing, and the guy who's teaching it said that any script where someone reads it and they can figure out the answer to the mystery before you reveal it isn't a good script. And I'm like, I do not agree. I do not agree. If the script is done really well and it's still a good mystery and it's satisfying and the people figure it out because they read into the clues correctly, there is no problem with that. Absolutely zero.
I have always held the belief that there is nothing wrong with predictability. As long as the story is there and is good and is executed well, a good story is a good story, guys.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, it doesn't matter if you can predict it or not.
Yeah, if the clues are there and you read them right, nobody should feel like they did something wrong. Like they told the story right, and you happen to read the right things into it, and thus you are rewarded with being correct.
You're watching Knives Out, and you get the ending. Well, Bully, still a good movie.
Yep. Right, exactly. I think Knives Out is a great example to say, like, I was pretty sure Chris Evans was the antagonist, but I couldn't have told you how.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was just pretty sure we were going to get there, and I didn't really sway from that just because of little clues, but like I didn't pick up every little thing.
Yeah.
I think I'm really enjoying the weekly format of the show. I really enjoy getting Marvel MCU canon. One of the things that's so great is that, we're not getting a story that lives in the MCU. We're not getting a story that is inconsequential to the MCU. This is MCU canon being unfolded in front of our eyes week to week. And I think it is so wonderful to get a show, that it's what Jeff Loeb's the hashtag was. It's all connected. It's so wonderful to get this long form storytelling week to week, to have this conversation, to experience the MCU in these little kind of bites. I think it's wonderful.
It's interesting because, again, like, this is like the show of all the side characters, and you look at the Captain America trilogy, the Iron Man movies, the Thor movies, and they have so much screen time, plus the Avengers, and like how little screen time these characters have. But because of this 9-episode show, all those screen times, baby, there's rising and rising and rising, and now a bunch of people's favorite characters are going to come out of the show like, yo, Monica Rambeau's like my favorite, Jimmy Woo's the best, and I'm like, thank you.
I'm a big Jimmy Woo stan. I mean, I liked Jimmy Woo in Ant-Man and the Wasp, but I'm a huge fan of him now.
Yo, man. He's part of the Agents of Atlas. They can make an Agents of Atlas show. Just do it. Make it that X-Files show.
I definitely feel like it's really nice to know that the Netflix characters are ending up back at Marvel Studios, because I think while I really enjoy those Netflix seasons overall, I think that being able to bring hopefully those teams, those cast members back, telling their stories in this tighter scale is going to make them just pop even better. Because like the Netflix shows, while they were good, they had their strengths to them. Like, you want to reduce it down to the scale that we're looking at for WandaVision, potentially for Falcon and Winter Soldier as well, with the way those episodes will run. You cut that down to like a 6-episode tight quality series throughout. Those heroes are gonna pop off like nobody's business.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I still think Daredevil season 3 is my favorite Marvel television thing ever made. I think it's 13 episodes, I think, is right.
It is. Yeah.
That is.
No. I think that one is less, because that was when they started to realize that those were too long.
Okay, that's what I was gonna say. I was like, because like I think that show is perfect length, and if you even trim down some of the stuff that it was still good that you didn't need, like a tight 10 or 8, like that Daredevil season 3 would be the greatest thing ever made. Like, truly, like this is Jessica Jones and Punisher just came back to Marvel. Like, all those Defenders are here now.
Well, what's so cool about WandaVision and what we're getting in the MCU right now that makes me really excited, the prospect of having those Netflix shows return home too, is exciting. But what we're seeing is no change in quality or scale. Yeah, this is a Marvel movie stretched out to 6 hours. This is not. No offense to Daredevil, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Runaways. Those shows were smaller scale. They were the street level stuff, and that was the point of those shows. This is. If you cut this to 2.5 hours, you'd watch it on the big screen. You just watch the Marvel movie.
All the little nuance, like it would be like the first 20 minutes of the movie would be like the first half of the season, and it would just be like all the good stuff would be gone. It would be like one spooky gag before we just got to the reveal. Because you only have like an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Because you have to move it so quick, and that's I'm just everyone knows I like the Netflix shows, but like it's not to beat on that, but like just knowing that those characters, I think those actors in those roles especially can grab the audience just as much as these other MCU characters have if they are put into that format. And I look forward to that likely happening. I mean, one way or another, hopefully it is those actors who come back, but I mean, one way or another, we're getting those characters eventually.
There was someone who said, someone was like, now that we're getting Daredevil and Spider-Man, I'm so excited. And someone was like, excuse me, Charlie Cox has been confirmed for Spider-Man, not Daredevil. It's like, okay, first off, neither have been confirmed. And second, if you think Charlie Cox is in it, but he's not playing Daredevil, you're an idiot.
Right. 100%. I just can't wait for when we're a little further down. I'll tell you what I really can't wait for. I can't wait to go to Captain Marvel 2, have watched Miss Marvel and have watched this show and watch those characters transfer from the television to the film and feel that full impact. I'm like, that's going to be a wild time. To feel that whole consistent flesh out moment is going to be big.
Even just going from this to Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, absolutely. I think more like I'm talking the impact of seeing a character start on the TV show, and go to the film.
Doctor
Strange
isn't
something we've had with the MCU yet.
Doctor Strange is in March, right?
Next year, yeah, I think so. February, March,
So when this show ends, it'll be 1 year before we see what the sequel thing, basically. Unless
Spider-Man. We'll get Spider-Man,
but I don't know if Spider-Man's going to deal so much with what's happening in WandaVision. I mean.
Probably not too much, but I mean, it's still going to be some kind of tie-in setup because we know we get Doctor Strange as in that movie for a lead.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's right. Oh my God, it's all connected.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Feige did it.
Really did.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing to watch it all coming together, and it's really, really nice. And I think that the variety that these shows are providing, WandaVision, a really great example of it, is going to keep the MCU fresh and alive for another decade plus.
Yeah, I did see someone say, man, they really should have released Falcon and Winter Soldier first because they set such a high bar with these shows. Except if that other show is just like a decent Marvel thing, it's gonna be like, oh no, like that's gonna be fine. But like, man, I kind of agree. I think the initial progression of Falcon and Winter Soldier to this to Loki was probably going to be a little more like, sample your shit better, and this one is going to be a little bit more
just
gave you a cake
of a hard, not dip in quality, but a hard dive back into something you're a little more familiar with. And you're going to be oh, but I was just in the weirdest place.
Like what you were talking about, Brandon, like predictability isn't bad, but like we kind of know what we're getting with a Falcon Winter Soldier compared to a WandaVision.
Yeah.
Yo, not to talk too much about Falcon and Winter Soldier, but I saw a take where someone said that Zemo's mask for the new one is going to be like acknowledged as directly inspired by Thanos's face, and I'm like, that's wild. That's wild. I thought about it. And I'm like, I can kind of get it. Like it's purple and it's got the lines, and I'm like, yeah.
He's just wearing a giant chin face. Oh my God.
We'll see. Yeah, I just think I do think that but personally, I've gotten the WandaVision and I love the WandaVision. I'm okay with getting a little Falcon Winter Soldier chaser before my Loki.
Oh, absolutely. I don't think I think once it's rolling, nobody's going to complain. I don't think anybody's really going to complain about it. I think some of the people who have complained about WandaVision are going to shut the hell up and just like Falcon and Winter Soldier. And that's great. So you're going to get the balance that way anyway. But I do kind of agree with Ryan that I think they did lead with their most ambitious foot, which is potentially a great thing.
The reason is because of the pandemic. It was the easiest to film.
Yep.
So I cannot tell you how many of my friends at work and in my regular life have come up to me and said, Ben, I've only watched the first 2 episodes of WandaVision. I don't like it. I keep telling them, keep going. Just trust me on this one. I mean, because if I tell them all the stuff that we've been talking about, that's complete spoilers. But I'm like, just keep going. Trust me. And I think one of them did. And they came back and was like, yep, you were right.
Here's the thing. If you're us, if you're like dyed in the womb Marvel stan, MCU stan, you should be watching WandaVision. There's no excuse.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
But if you're like a Casey casual, I can understand it's a little weird for you.
I mean, I can understand, but most of my friends who talk to me, they've seen all the MCU films. I mean, they're not have a giant collection of comic book nerds like we are, but they have seen every single MCU movie. So even then, they're like, yeah, well, it's like, oh man, I don't really like WandaVision. It's all in black and white. It's like a sitcom. I'm like, just keep watching it. Just trust me on this one.
It's a more acquired taste for sure. And like, maybe they just need to get to the era of TV that they're comfortable with. Like, they're cool with like Malcolm in the Middle instead of I Love Lucy.
I think you get to 3, that seems to generally be the hump where you kind of get that lead off into the, Monica pops out in the real world and you start to really see the bigger picture of what's up. And I think that's where like people who are less familiar with this style of genre get more comfortable and acclimated.
I would say 3 and 4 because I remember the memes after episode 4.
Yeah, I think that's what Sparks means is the episode 3 kind of gives you like I understand what's happening now, and then episode 4 is like it's the Marvel movie.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I think 4 is when they're like, I am totally secure. But I think 3 is the thing where, like, if they get through to the end of 3, they feel confident to go forward in the show.
Yeah.
But up to that point is where it's a little question. My father was the same way.
That scene with Monica when she mentions Ultron for the first time still gives me chills down my spine. It's like, oh shit.
And then they mention Ultron again. Like Vision's like, oh, I was created to be a genocidal monster. That's cool, I guess.
I'm so happy that they keep mentioning Ultron in this.
Me too.
He's not showing up though, unfortunately.
No, he's not. But I just love that they mention him.
Yeah,
I love just how important like the entire MCU history. So I was talking to our friend Jeremy while I've been here. I was talking to him today because they have only watched the first episode of WandaVision so far, and it's more just a like kind of hit Pepper at the wrong time, his partner Pepper at the wrong time, so they haven't gone back to it. Kind of thing, and I was just like, I was explaining to him, like, without being spoilery, I was like, look, man, I just want to tell you that Jimmy Woo, the federal agent from Ant-Man and the Wasp, and Darcy, you remember Kat Dennings in the Thor movies, and he's like, okay, and I'm like, yeah, they're 2 of your main characters outside of the Hex, and he's like, God damn, they made C-listers cool. And I'm like, that's the MCU, baby.
That is the MCU.
It goes back to the tweet that I really like, which was just like, man, if you had told me that the AI from Iron Man, and the sidekick, the love interest sidekick from Thor, and the FBI agent from Ant-Man would be in a TV show.
And it's the best.
Yeah, the show's great. I'm really happy with it. I think we're about wrapping up.
I just think that the style of this episode worked really well. The balance between Modern Family and The Office overall. I love the intro, which is the Office parody intro. Some eagle-eyed viewer caught that one of the license plates has Stanley's birthday on it, which is really cute. And I think that that moment where the guy's voice comes from behind the camera to tell Wanda, do you feel responsible for all of it? And she's like, you're not supposed to talk to me. That was an excellent chilling moment. God, the tone shift when she walks down to the basement, it's like, oh, cool, we're suddenly watching The Conjuring.
It turns into The Conjuring. She's talking about like if like he asked her, do you think you deserve it? That's because do you think you deserve it? Yeah, and that's a very very spooky, suspicious thing. And it's a man's voice, so I wonder if again that means anything, or if it's just.
Well, I watched it a second time just today, and I think there's a case. I'm gonna throw a Hail Mary out there. I think there's a case that you can make that it's a distorted version of Agnes's voice.
Oh, sure.
I'll say that. I don't know if I'm right. I don't know if I'm wrong. I'm not gonna.
Yeah. Wasn't during that scene the camera zooms back and it's Agatha in the director's chair anyway?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, because she's behind everything. It was Agatha all along,
Okay. Yeah, because I thought that was actually Agatha, Agnes.
That's so the Munsters. I love it.
Yes, it is. It's incredible.
Hey guys, this show is amazing.
Pretty good.
Absolutely love the show.
I'm excited for the last 2 episodes. I can't wait to see what. I think there's more reveals coming. I do. Maybe 1 or 2. I don't think we
know like why this is for the children.
Yeah.
Like how Wanda got here. There's so much to reveal.
Oh, we didn't really talk about it, but we did learn in this episode that Hayward was weaponizing Vision's body back online.
Yeah,
he was trying to turn Vision online again.
So we still don't know what he's planning to do right now. He makes another statement where he's like, "Be ready to move. We're doing the thing," and I'm like, "What's the thing?"
Do you think? Because we've been going long, so I'm gonna wrap it up. But real quick, do you think he has a way to get in there and he hasn't told anyone?
No, I think he has a way to potentially control Vision.
That's what I was also going to ask. I was like, "Oh, do you think he worked on Vision enough?"
I think he has some kind of override that's going to shut down Vision's consciousness and basically turn him into a sophisticated, like true AI, like automated AI. And
no,
I think that's.
White? Does he turn white because it's the cataracts program that he's been working on?
I'm wondering that. So we're gonna see, but I feel like that's what it's gonna be, is that he's gonna be able to rob Vision of his personality temporarily. It's really gonna set Wanda off.
Yeah. I'm It says a lot when that's the least interesting part of this episode.
Yeah, right.
Because like you said that, I was like, oh yeah, I liked everything else a hell of a lot more though. Yeah, I'm interested to see what Hayward's doing. There's so many questions still left to be answered. There's a lot of people talking about, and I want to dissuade a lot of people fears about this. Not necessarily us, because I think we're all in the same mind at this point. There's a fear that we're not going to have a resolution at the end of the show, and that the resolution will be a Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness. If we take the logic that this is a 6-hour Marvel movie, no Marvel movie has ever left us without a resolution at the end of it.
Yeah.
Every Marvel movie has been a complete story. I know a lot of people say otherwise, but they're wrong. Every Marvel movie is a complete story, and we have a beginning, middle, and end. And that just because a thread leads into the next one doesn't mean that's not the case. I do think that this is once again going to be the case at the end of this series. We will have a resolution.
Yeah, I agree. We will have, like every Marvel movie will have an end, and then it'll probably have a tease for what's coming next. Like,
exactly.
They're not going to do anything different. Yeah.
I think we will have a resolution for Wanda and Vision, but I do feel like this ends with the boys lost in the multiverse
Setup.
Yeah.
Again, like I'm saying, like every Marvel movie they beat the bad guy at the end, well, except for Infinity War. Every Marvel movie they beat the bad guy at the end. There's a nice bow, and then there's a thread to get you into the next one. So
I do think they will probably beat Agatha, but I do think like the Mephisto, Master Pandemonium, Nightmare, whoever will be revealed, and that like maybe that will be the big reveal. And it's like, oh, you'll deal with him in a year.
Yeah, I just don't think there was a world where this movie ends where we're thinking like, wait, I have so many questions still.
It's not going to be an Infinity War cliffhanger. No way.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Anyway, I figured we were all on the same page, but I have seen that online, and I just don't think that is the case.
I think people are just scared because they've never had a Marvel like TV show before, and they're just like, "Oh no, does this?"
I will say, I feel like we almost definitely get some kind of, not necessarily seeing him or anything, but some kind of post-credits tease that's meant to lead you not necessarily to Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, but to the Spider-Man film.
Yeah,
sure.
I still think Doctor Strange is in the show at the end.
Yeah,
I think there's a really good possibility of it for sure.
I'm still betting on Aaron Taylor Johnson showing up.
Me too. I'm not ruling it out. I'm really not ruling that out.
Yeah.
¿Por qué no las dos?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I think that should wrap it up. What do you think?
I cannot wait for this week. Gives me something to look forward to, and also one of my coworkers who watches it on the same day I do. Every time we see each other at work the next day, we're like, yeah.
Oh, it almost makes me wish that like the last 2 episodes they released like a Marvel movie.
Yeah,
kinda. But
like I'm still not mad.
You know what? I have never been dissatisfied with the length of the show personally.
Yeah.
Nope. Another guy.
Okay, so that'll be it. Thank you guys for watching this. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to this channel. We got a lot of cool stuff on this channel, such as more of the Fake Nerds Watch. You can find all sorts of shows that we've done. And then, of course, we have the... Should I plug any of the other shows? We're just doing WandaVision. WandaVision's doing well, so just keep watching WandaVision. Maybe check out the Game of Thrones one. And we'll keep doing Marvel forever.
We will be doing a Marvel show for at least a year because they're just feeding us continuously.
We'll take the week off that Marvel Legends comes out. We don't need to talk about that.
Yeah.
Anyway, of course, we also have the Fake Nerd Book Club, which we are currently going through Little Char and the Gang, which is a webtoon series. And you can, of course, check out our back catalog of that, where we did Waste of Space, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, The Pride. Check all that on this channel. Of course, we also have the Basement Arcade series, which is our Let's Play series. More coming soon. We've been talking about it. We'll hopefully get some of that stuff out soon. Of course, Basement Arcade Pause Menu is our new series. Constantly launching new shows because just 7's not enough, guys.
Never.
7 podcasts is not enough. Basement Arcade Pause Menu just released a new episode. Ben, what was that episode with adults talking anime?
Yeah, we were talking all about video game consoles.
Yes.
Good time.
And thank you to Adults Talking Anime Plus for joining you guys on that episode.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course, the Fake Nerd Podcast is our mothership show. We do that every Sunday. You can check that out. This is probably going up. So tonight, watch our newest episode where we're talking about Arch Enemy. Right? We're doing that.
That's what we're doing.
Definitely
Well,
watching that movie soon.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. None of us have done it.
Definitely didn't just forget that was what we're doing until just now.
I remembered like moments before we did this. I'm like, I gotta watch a movie.
I haven't thought about it all week.
So stay tuned for that. That'll be fun. You can check us. Of course, you can check us out. We do the live shows. We do the live shows. You can find all of that on this channel, on audio, on everything. fakenerdpodcast.com is our website. You can find all of our links to our Patreon, our TeePublic merch. We have masks, so you can probably find those in the description. And Fake Nerd Podcast on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Follow us on all social medias. I'm at BT McClure on Instagram and Twitter. Ben?
You can find me still losing my mind that Agatha was behind it all. Ben Magnet 27 on Instagram and Twitter.
Sparks?
You can find me just absolutely loving that it was Agatha all along at Sparks Witty on Instagram and Twitter, SPARKZ Witty. Except I'm not actually going to be doing that on those handles because I don't want to spoil.
Ryan?
You can find me breaking the fourth wall at DJ Tony Smart.
All right. Like I said, subscribe to this, like this video, subscribe to this channel, and until next time you see us. Oh, dang, I forgot. I have to do this now.
Magic stuff.
Until next time you see us, stay fake nerds.
Magic.